Any other comments? Jay?
J.D. Singh, I'm a resident of the village at 109 Old Town Crossing, and Mike, I want to thank you for bringing up what I think is one of the most important arguments. And at the beginning of the study, Glynis Berry absolutely confirmed that the level of development, if it continues, we are making our community ecologically unsustainable, and it's also becoming socially unsustainable. And so I think what we have to look at is what's reasonable. The law not just allows, but it actually requires you to have zoning that protects the master plan. And we have a master plan that has been rewritten several times over the last 30 years, and one of the things that is always the top point is to maintain the small town rural charm of Southampton Village. And I don't think we've done a very good job of doing that. So the amount of reduction that we're looking at is pretty insignificant. And I know, Nancy, you're going to say, well, it could be 800 square feet, and that can be 2 rooms. Well, I hate to tell you, go down to East Hampton, and if we go ahead and approve this law, in the smaller zones, the houses are 30% smaller in terms of what is allowed. In the larger zones, they're 15% smaller.
Paul Travis said Southampton is not East Hampton. Totally different layout.
It is, that is actually, if you talk with other people, I know he said that, but if you talk with other people on the board and you actually drive down there yourself,
and they're having their problems.
They are having problems, but they're not having problems like we are. And if you take a drive down there and you take a look at what the neighborhoods look like, they have improved and they have upgraded houses and sections of their village without having to go around a corner and say, oh my gosh, how did that house get built? How did that house get approved? It's 4 times anything in the neighborhood. And I'm not saying that if zoning allows that, that it shouldn't be permitted. But I think we also have a responsibility to maintain the quality, the dignity of our community, and ultimately we're killing the goose that lays the golden egg.
So let me ask you this, when does the health department kick in? Because quite honestly, if we're so concerned environmentally, and I believe in all of that, but if we're so concerned environmentally, and the health department is allowing this, so then doesn't the health department have something to do with it? I don't know. I don't understand this.
I don't know. Let's go ask the people up in Love Canal.
Maybe the health department should come. Oh, the Love Canal was contamination, not from cesspools. It was from chemicals.
Oh, I know, but that's what your government does. That's what your federal government does. So it's up to us locally.
No, you can't compare that. I mean,
absolutely,
no,
absolutely.
No, that's absolutely a ridiculous comparison. The Love Canal was chemicals that were poured into the ground by companies.
I know what it was, Nancy.
I know.
But if you think the health department or the government is going to step in and come up with a new formula, we're in a very fragile environment. We have the same zoning here that many other communities have in areas where it's not a coastal marshland environment. And we're already seeing in places like East Quogue and East Hampton where there are issues from chemicals at the fire department practices when they've sprayed chemicals out on the ground, or from golf courses. So it's only a matter of time. I mean, because we've seen so much.
Temec. Do you remember Temec in Sagaponack? Yeah. Well.
So I would urge you to go ahead and approve the law. I think the reduction that most of us are going to feel, and I'm on 1/3 of an acre, I'm going to feel it. I have a 2,200 square foot house. I'm going to lose, probably something like 300 square feet.
For me, it's not about what I'm going to lose. It has nothing to do with it. It just has to do with the fact that I don't really feel that people fully understand this in the community, and they look to us to protect them, and I feel like I'm not.
Well, nobody protected me when they built 3 houses in a row on a third of an acre, that when you combine them, it's 21 bedrooms,
You can't
21
say that,
bathrooms.
though. I mean, you cannot,
What do you,
can't go
I
around
don't understand how
saying,
you can say you can't say that. That is what's there. On a full acre parcel now, if it were one parcel.
but zoning
it has-
allowed for 3 different parcels.
I know,
So-
but zoning up until 14 years ago did not allow houses of the size that went on those
They allowed
parcels
larger.
to be built.
They allowed larger. They allowed larger back then, because that's how we got involved in the zoning.
No, because they had parking. They had parking requirements. Right now, these houses barely have 2 parking spaces, and there's 7 bedrooms. So there were other drivers that kept those houses from being so large, and those got removed.
Back
And
then, you could build on my lot, which is 66 by 166, you could build a 5,000 square foot house. So that's on a 66 by 166, a third of an acre, obviously, because back then you went according to the zone, what you could do. It's only during this period of time that we decided that we would build based on the size of the lot. That was changed. That was changed only a few years ago, but prior to that, you could build over a 5,000 square foot house back then. People didn't do it, but you could do it.
Right, so now what we have to do is we actually have to protect all of our residents against what is happening, which is oversized houses on very small parcels. And that's your responsibility. You're trustees. And what's happened in my neighborhood is that, first of all, the last week, you haven't even been able to go down Old Town Crossing because there are so many construction vehicles between what's going on Little Plains. God forbid anyone have a heart attack or a fire. But beyond that, we are seeing houses now that really overwhelm the street. And they're parking in the street all summer long, and it won't be long before there is going to be a real tragedy because you've got these large construction trucks coming through, you've got landscaper vehicles. Our road at the narrowest is 18 feet wide. It barely fits 2 vehicles. And we all know people are using village roads to escape the traffic on the highway. So we're really heading towards a cliff, and I hope you will make this small change. If it's too much, you can always adjust it down the road. And if someone has a problem, they can go in and ask for a variance. And I think that's the formula we should have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Any other comments?
Actually, I think the job of a trustee is to protect people, especially people that maybe it sounds bad, but don't know any better. And, when I first started building houses, I used to build them in Hampton Bays, North Sea, and a lot of first-time home buyers. And, but people don't know about housing. Everybody thinks they qualify for a mortgage. And, when you have a first-time home buyer, they come, I want to buy the house, right, Nancy? And they'll say, I want to buy the house. They don't know what it means to qualify because it's usually their first house. And they don't know anything, really. They really don't, because it's something you only do a couple times in your life if you're lucky, and you do it once, and you're lucky. And to get into zoning with people, like the gentleman said, you should really give this to everybody, like mail this and start this over, because let's say, for argument's sake, a house, a square foot is worth $500 or $1,000. If you're cutting off 400 square feet, go around and send a notice. I'm stealing $200,000 from the price of your house. And put it in those terms. See how many people line up here with like pitchforks and torches. I mean, because that's basically what you're doing, because houses are based on square footage. And, I get very upset, you might have noticed, like sometimes at these meetings about zoning, but it's more about property rights. No. But it's really about property rights, and I don't think it's fair. Maybe the guy with the mansion over on Gin Lane, who cares? He's got $1 billion. But these people, this is their life investment. I don't care. I'm not building any more houses on a third of an acre in my life anymore. and you're hurting people. And there's a house on Pelletreau right now, and Nancy probably knows it. I mean, it's dropped from $1 million to 900 to 800 to 700 to 600 because people go in the village, they talk to Tin. Tin draws a little building envelope, says you could build 1,200 square feet according to zoning, and that's what happens.
Show me
And
this house, Michael, because I'd love to know where
it's
that
on
house is.
Pelletreau.
What's the address?
I don't know. You know the house, right?
Where is
It's
that?
a small house. It's a two.
What house
It's
is
got a two.
700,000?
It's actually just. I heard it's in contract for 600 now.
600.
From $1 million to 600 because you can't
How
build
many
on it.
square feet is the house?
God, it's probably 1,000, but it's a tear down no matter what. The problem is that people go into the village and they find out that they can't really put a pool besides one of those like 6-foot wide by 20-foot pools or something else
How
ridiculous.
big did you say the house was? How many square feet?
Yeah,
Maybe 1,200. And you can't really
You
build.
feel screwed because you can't get $1 million for it?
No, he's
No, I'm not
not
saying that. I'm not
He's saying that the people were, it's a tear-down house, so what they do is they take the survey, they go upstairs to the building department, they say to Tin or to any of the building inspectors, tell me what I can do on this property. And they tell them they basically can't do very much on the property.
So at
So
one
that's why it
time,
kept going down.
Can't you replace the house that's there?
what family?
Size-wise, I mean, footage?
What are you going to put in there? Your cat and your dog? I mean, it's going to have 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms. You
Do
know,
they have
people-
to, why do they want to live in Southampton? They don't work here, right?
I don't understand.
Very few people. I would love to know, in the last 5 years, how many people have bought a home in Southampton who earn a living in Southampton. Their living.
Well, that's not my point. The point is,
Oh, it's my point.
okay, but what I'm trying to say is,
Tell me how many people can afford to buy a $600,000 or
I don't know.
$700,000
We-
house, tear it down
It's
and rebuild
unlivable.
it?
Yeah,
And
no.
rebuild it. They
No,
can't.
we're-
The locals
well,
can't afford it anymore. That's my big pet peeve. The
You're-
locals are being pushed out.
When I realized what I bought for $20,500 in 1963, and where it is today,
it's all relative to what things cost, and everything's gone up, but
So, Michael, you're saying this house at 120 Pelletreau was at 1.3 million, it's 1,100 square feet, it's 0.33 of an acre, and it went for $700,000?
that's what I heard.
Really?
Was
You heard or we know?
I don't remember the exact number, but I heard, because they kept sending it to me, and I looked at it, I'm like, what am I going to build on there? And then other people went and did that. And the other thing I got to say is, like, somebody said, like, the building department is letting people, they don't, believe me, they don't do that. I'm friendly with Chris, and, I mean, this guy fights with me about shingles that are on crooked or something. I mean, they don't let you get away with anything up there. And, that's wrong, too. I mean, I don't think that's right to say that in a meeting. I mean, the zoning is the zoning, and you have to bring a survey in when you're done. And if it's not correct, you got to get a variance and hope you get one. But, I just wish that there would be a better way to notify people and really let them know, because this is really, this is more important than like your neighbor getting notified about his front porch. This is about their house, and it's really going to impact them, and that's what really bothers me about these meetings, because nobody knows about them. And you can tell by the Planning Commission, nobody goes to those meetings.
Well, this meeting has been properly
No, I know
notified.
it has, but nobody, I get all that, and it's legal, and it's, the way you did it is upfront and legal, but nobody understands what you're doing. Like, they read in the paper, we're moving this, that, and your square footage and this, they don't know what that means.
I know your concept of losing rights, but I'm just going to read one sentence out of the resolution that we have before us to vote on. And it really tells the reason that we're doing this. It's not to take away people's rights. And I'll read it to you. The objective of the gross floor area restrictions is to allow construction and reconstruction of dwellings to be more compatible with the scale and character of existing residential development in the village. And that really sums up what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the village more attractive.
But that's
Hence,
arbitrary.
for you two, you're going to get more money because the village looks better.
That's not true.
Very true.
It's not true. In real estate, that's not true. Listen, in New York City, prices are by the square foot. They're not
This
by
is
house.
not
Okay.
New York City.
I am not done. Same with this town. It doesn't go by, listen, if you had a 2,000 square foot ranch on the same block that was beautiful, and you had a 4,000 square foot house, what are you going to get more money for? You get money, things are by the square foot. They're by the square foot in this village, they're by the square foot in Manhattan, they're by the square foot in Pennsylvania, and that's the way it works. And you're lowering people's value. And what Jay said is totally arbitrary. That's his viewpoint, okay? I have a viewpoint, you have a viewpoint. That's what's so beautiful about this country. That's what the Constitution protects us. Your job is to protect our rights. Okay, not to go and protect Jay or the Southampton Association because they have a house that doesn't conform. And listen, I've seen Nancy's house. It fits beautiful on our lot. Today it looks fine. I mean, what's wrong with that? That's not an overpowering house, but she couldn't do that today. So what are you going to do? You're going to start building these little squatty houses? You're starting to see them already. They look like, I know one that you hated, and I know why it looks like that, because the zoning, the pyramid law and this, and so you have a box and it goes like this. And I spoke with you guys before about with the planning commission, they should take the law from North Haven if they really want to fix this and do it by square footage, because
Cubic
a
square.
cubic square footage, that's what.
Listen to you,
Thank
the
you.
meeting, and also thank you for building your houses on large lots. I think you're going to have a better ability to sell those houses because you're unique.
And it's also the entrance to the village, and I think that was not a great entrance for a long time. But I think
I
that.
want to verify one thing that you did say about square footage. And I know you said we're not New York City. But let me just say, for all the years I have been in the real estate business, and it's 37 years, and I went from working with people who were interested in buying a family house, and it was a totally, totally different business back then. Then I would say within the last 10 to 15 years, people came in and asked what the square footage of the house was. We didn't know, because we never got square footage of houses. We basically said, here's the house, this is what it is, oh, I like this house, and people bought it. They had not a clue as to what square footage they were getting. Now, for the last, I would say, 15 to 20 years, people want to know what their square footage is. And then they go out and find out what builders charge per square foot, because they want to make sure that whatever their land value is and whatever the square footage of their house is, that they're not overpaying for that. They want to make sure that, they're going to certainly allow room for profit, but they don't want to overpay for it. They don't want to pay. And so square footage is on the table now, and it has been for a long time.
And also, brokers in this village have been in lawsuits because they've lied about square footage, and and that's happened before. And I know one case right now it's happening because they lied. They said it was 600
Well,
feet bigger.
sometimes they get, because I've seen it happen, sometimes they get the square footage from the town records, and the town records are not necessarily correct.
Right. But, and I just really think that, you should investigate cubic footage, because I understand if you see a house that's imposing from the street, who's to say I can't just build like a stage front and then put my house behind it? There's nothing in the code. I could build fully to each end still. And that's why in North Haven, they decided to do cubic footage. And it really works there. I mean, it really worked. I don't know if I'm pretty sure they're still doing it, but when I was building there, they were using cubic footage, and the houses just came in. They were more symmetrical instead of just people chopping things off to make them fit. And I just think that this is getting rushed. I know you've had 6 meetings, but it's just getting a little rushed and not letting the right people know, and that's what's a shame. That's all.
I'd love to know what percentage of our village lives here year-round.
Well, we
I'd
won't know
love to
that
know
until the
that.
Not a lot.
census.
Well,
Because when you say we should notify them, where the hell do we send the letter?
where their taxes go. But the other point too is that brings up another point. Jay was saying that we're hurting our ecology. People that have houses here, I can guarantee these summer houses are using a lot less oil, gas, septic because they're not here all the time. So to say these houses are using more energy when we have LED lights and everything else, I don't believe that. I mean, my house, I have to leave a window open, it's so airtight. That's, you got to spray foam and use different windows, and you have to put a hot roof on with 12
Is that a
inches.
sales pitch?
I'm trying to sell you a house. I'm hoping they broadcast this. No, I'm just saying, like, it should just give other people a chance to just hear what this is and explain it to them. That's all.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. I realize you want to get on with things. Just to address Trustee Hattrick's comment, I think, that the notion of you would have the best possible argument before the ZBA, that's still putting me in the position of having to go before the ZBA when I don't have to now, right? And it's making me sort of rely on their grace or whatever you want to say that they're going to give me that. And I think, to Nancy's point somewhat, or maybe it was Rick's, that to assume that power held is not going to be power exercised is tough. And I think, apart from all of that, if is the chilling effect that this other gentleman was. Our house on a small lot on Elm Street, pretty much everybody who comes to look at it takes the survey and goes to the building department to see what they can do. And they're now going to be told, under this new law, you're going to be able to do less. And so that is, unless you get a variance, and then, geez, am I really going to want to rely on that? Am I going to want to spend the money? Am I going to want to, how do I know? And they'll just back away instead, unfortunately. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any comments from the trustees?
Yeah, no, I'll say a couple things now that I think everybody out there has said, hopefully what they're... So I'd like to hear everything first, and and Michael, nice to see you back. It has been a while. As usual, you do provide passionate and...
Bring gum trees next time.
I mean, obviously, we have been discussing this for some time. I think even you pointed out, Michael, that this is just one, or somebody did, one actually in a bunch of different decisions, certainly over the past 10 years. I think back in almost 8-9 years ago, the formula went from 1,500, it was 2,500 to 1,500. So there has been a trend going on, and I think some people have been mislabeling of and the reason I say is because everybody thinks those McMansions, how bad it's gotten, how big it's gotten. But then you come up and you're one of them, which you're right, there's actually been, and others, there's been a trend of reduction in the past 10 years. That was one of them. We, reducing the pyramid, the setbacks, the height. So there have been methodical reductions through the years. There has been a plan to it in a sense. Now, where that came from a lot for me was the Planning Commission, and somebody addressed the Planning Commission. I think that's one of the most important bodies we have because they don't actually decide on the, like the ARB or ZBA or us, legislation, the building, what happens, where it goes. It's a think tank, I like to. So it's people who do really volunteer their time, different careers, but, in the industry. Whether you think about how knowledgeable they are or not, whatever, I'm not going to argue that. But this board, for some time, previous administrations and previous administrations before that, and the current, we do put stock in it. I put stock in that because, again, it's a think tank and their decision, and they analyze. So I like to always see what they have. And quite honestly, all the decisions that have come down in either reductions or a lot of other zoning things that have come about have been based on a Planning Commission's recommendation. So what is in front of us now, whether you're aware of it, it's not brand new. It's been discussed for some time. It's been hinted it's coming, not in the last 6 public hearings, but, the McMansion issue, the large house issue, it's not something that's brand new. This lady here, who was on Henry, brought up a good point. I see a lot of the issue is not so much the loss of property rights, which I'm a big believer in that. We all get skin in the game here. But it's also part of like, wow, I just saw 3 go up, and should I, not that I might, but should I do it in the future, I might not get the same. And that's, again, a valid concern. So when I'm trying to wrap everything around this for years, and certainly this most recent code change, I put it down to a few things. One, as I stated, the Planning Commission. And I put my faith in, and they don't agree. And what I like about them is they actually don't agree on the end result. And they all came up and spoke passionately about what they liked and didn't like. So that's, again, why I give faith in that board. And they came up, and this is what they presented. Also, one of the more compelling arguments they brought up in one of their meetings was a study they brought up, some data. Now, again, data can be spun many different ways, but one of the most compelling slides I brought up was a bar chart. And there was an unequivocal trend there, meaning the size of houses. And it's a disturbing trend to some people. And that was a study, again, brought up by the Planning Commission. So they brought it up. That went to part of their recommendation, why this code should happen, in addition to the other we just did in the past couple of years and 5 years and such. Getting input from people. Kimberly and myself are up for re-election for our seats. So we've had to go walk and do petitions. That's what we do. You and other people brand this poster child of an organization as the poster child behind reduction of house size and making things smaller. I can assure you, walking petitions, they ain't the people I knocked on the doors. So the people who had my petitions are not members of an organization that you referenced before. They're people very much like myself, have been here a long time. And I ask them, I get their feedback, what do you think? And yes, it is true. A lot do not know about it, they're not aware of it. They're not aware of a lot of things. That's just human nature. This is just one more thing that they don't pay attention to until they have an issue. They go to zoning and find out. But I did. I discussed it. And as a reference, I had a chart of what the reduction in numbers would be based on each zone. And I actually had my own house as an example. So that's what I did. I did the math on my own house. And I asked people, I go, do you know what this is? Are you aware of it? A lot of people know. I go, yeah, I read a little bit, you know. I go, well, this is what it does mean. I go, where do you live? What's your lot? And they weren't quite sure, but I said, well, let me illustrate what it means to me. And they got it. They got that it may mean a reduction in the future, but they also realized that what they may want to do, it wasn't really going to impact them a lot. So a lot of people really didn't have a problem with it, to be honest with you. So they either didn't have an issue with it, or they had an issue with it, depending on what they might want to get some resale value for, or they were ambivalent. Didn't care one way or the other. Fine. So, but I did get people's input, Michael and everybody else. And the people who spoke to me were concerned about the size of the house. They weren't association members. My own parents complain about it all the time because they remember when everything was a farm field. So there's many different perspectives of what they would like a house to be. And second, increasing in taxes. That's what a local person's concerned about. And that's what is a side effect of a larger house or several large. As I know, we all just got reassessed. I just got mine. I haven't been reassessed in a while. I'm not saying it's your house, but others are going around the corner from me over the past few years. So, but that's the way it is. So the fact that the Planning Commission, along with many other studies that I followed and we have followed as a board, we take the recommendation, we analyze it. Two, I got a good cross-section of the people in the community over the last month, and most didn't see a big issue with it, and then it applies to how I thought about myself. What does it do to me? That's what everybody really wants to go, how does it affect me? And that's what we're all about. When we base our decisions, how does it affect others, but other people like me and affect me? That's how I can base it. I did the math. I got everything out, and yes, at the end of the day, I lose about 300 square feet. I'm going to eat my own cooking here because, yes, it's a property right issue. It's a big thing I'm about. But again, let's put in perspective of what we're trying to accomplish as a board and with all these studies. I lose 300 square feet. Going forward, what I may want to do, because there are things I'd like to do, my kids are getting older, it doesn't impact what I want to do. Now, what you're saying, if I sell it and would it may impact the next person? Perhaps. But somebody who owns a property and lives out here and plans on doing it with a family, and there are still quite a few of us left. You know, we all get up here and say, oh, we're a dying breed. There's bullshit. There's enough of us still around. And I'm one of them. And I did the math. How would it impact me and friends and family like myself? We're not hugely impacted on this. So that's how I based my thought process around this. And I think it's how we all base our decisions on. And you combine that with public input, like yours, because you do bring up good points. I've told you in the past, you know, you get up here and you've had some shouting matches, not with me, but with others. You bring up very valid points. A lot I actually agree with. But when you say what my job is, yeah, I have to put my head on the pillow at night with my decision, every single damn one I make. This has been a struggle, for a lot, as Nancy has said, no doubt about it. But I have to put all the factors in. Those are the several main points that really got that. If we're voting on this tonight, I don't know if we're allowed to, but, you know, I think we are. I don't know, but, you know, I don't know. But I just wanted to answer yours and other people brought up there, and people that get impacted and how we cut certain groups out. That was through, quite honestly, through the 6 public hearings, you know, and more. That whole neighborhood didn't show up. Representatives for that neighborhood showed up, the Hillcrest neighborhood. So they were aware of it. I mean, so people who may not be as aware as you, there are a lot of people who are more aware than you think. And they were, because they attended this meeting. In a couple of meetings, we had a wide gamut. In the very first one or two, actually, we had a lot who were actually against it. Actually, it was a mixed room, for and against. So we've heard input from all. I have, personally, based on my decision on that. So I know what you're saying, Michael, and others. Property values, this is where we've had a discussion in the past, and others. I do firmly believe that ultimately the property values on where we live are not going to be overwhelmingly impacted in the future, maybe a short-term blip or whatever, because we still, as you said, we're on an island. We have limited space. We can't go in either direction. It is built out, so the only thing going forward is reconstruction, and that's where a lot of it's happening now. And as long as that Atlantic Ocean is still beautiful, blue and pure, and we can swim in it, and we're still 90 miles roughly from New York City, this is going to be a place that's still going to be a saleable place to be, regardless. That, again, is how I can also, in good faith, make decisions that may impact negatively you, but maybe not another. So, I don't know, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Rich. Any other comments? Mike, I'd just like to say that wealth is not a question of how much money you have or how much money something is worth. I've been in my house for 35 years. I don't plan to leave tomorrow, okay? But I do want to live in a community that is balanced and enjoyable to walk the streets and see the community. And I'm not, you know, I realize that you're at the other end of the trade and you do a great job, and I'm not criticizing you at all. It's just that there are, as Rich pointed out, people who have lived here for a long time and are local, which Bill has been questioning, and we sometimes look at our house as our home and not necessarily something that I'm going to lose down the road. And it's not an investment. I'm not looking to sell it to retire. So, you know, I'll just leave you with that. And is the board comfortable to vote on this local law?
Yeah.
You are? Okay, so I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on the maximum gross floor area of a dwelling.
Second?
Second.
In favor?
And I'll make a resolution to accept local law number 3
Great.
of 2018 And although it's a long read, but you should probably read it.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. We have two more after this, you know.
I know. I'll read one of them.
Yeah, okay. Legislative intent, Section 116-17.1, maximum gross floor area of dwellings in certain residence districts was added to the zoning law in 2003 to address the size and scale of dwellings in relationship to lot area. The objective of the gross floor area restrictions is to allow construction and reconstruction of dwellings to be more compatible with the scale and character of existing residential development in the village. Over the last 15 years since its adoption, the village has monitored the implementation of this section and has periodically adopted amendments to refine its application. Recently, the Village Planning Commission has undertaken a review of built conditions and regulations in the village and determined that the current regulations continue to allow construction of dwellings that are still larger in size and scale with the character of the community. Currently, subsection 116-17.1.b provides that the maximum gross floor area of the dwelling within the R120, R80, and R80 residence districts shall be 12% of the lot area of the lot, plus 1,500 square feet. Similarly, subsections 116-17.1.e provides that the maximum gross floor area of the dwelling within the R40, R20, R12.5, R7.5 residence districts, and the MF20 multifamily residence district shall be 12% of the lot area of the lot, plus 1,500 square feet, less the total gross floor area of accessory buildings on the lot. The Village Planning Commission evaluated various strategies and ultimately recommended that the base percentage for determining gross floor area be reduced. It is the intent of this local law to amend both subsections 116-17.1.b and e to further reduce the maximum gross floor area from 12% of the lot area of the lot plus 1,500 square feet to 10% of the lot area of the lot plus 1,500 square feet. Upon further review, the Village Board recognizes that the R7.5 zoning district north of the Long Island Railroad in the Hillcrest neighborhood contains a significantly greater number of non-conforming lots, and that additional study is needed to examine the potential impact that recent changes to the zoning law, i.e. lot coverage, pyramid, setbacks, and gross floor area, have had on the redevelopment potential of the neighborhood. The Village Board intends to further study this neighborhood before imposing any further changes to the gross floor area requirements as contemplated in this local law. Accordingly, this local law shall not apply to properties within the R7.5 zoning districts north of the Long Island Railroad in the Hillcrest neighborhood. Section 2 Amendment. Section 116-17.1.b is hereby amended by deleting certain strike-through words and adding underlined words as follows. 116-17.1.b. The maximum floor area of the dwelling within the R120, R80, and R60 districts shall be strike 12%, make it 10% of the lot area of the lot plus 1,500 square feet. Section 3 Amendment. Section 116-17.1.e is hereby amended by deleting certain strike-through words and adding underlined words as follows. The maximum gross floor area of a dwelling within the R40, R20, R12.5, and R7.5 resident districts and the MF20 multifamily resident districts shall be strike 12%, add 10% of the lot area of the lot plus 1,500 square feet, less the total gross floor area of accessory buildings on the lot calculated in accordance with the following provisions. 1. In calculating the total gross floor area of an accessory building on the lot, the floor area of a detached garage shall be excluded to the following extent. A. In districts requiring 20,000 square feet of lot area or less, the floor area of such garage shall be excluded to the extent of 520 square feet. Parentheses, if the floor area of such garage exceeds 520 square feet, the excess shall be included in calculating the gross floor area. B. In districts requiring more than 20,000 square feet of lot area, the floor area of such garage shall be excluded to the extent of 800 square feet. If the floor area of such garage exceeds 800 square feet, the excess shall be included in calculating the gross floor area. 2. The exclusion from gross floor area of a dwelling set forth in subsection A4 above for a garage that is part of the dwelling shall not be applicable in the case of a lot which utilizes the exclusion for a detached garage set forth in subsection E1 above. In the case of a lot which utilizes the exclusion for a detached garage set forth in subsection E1 above, the entire floor area of a garage that is part of the dwelling shall be included in calculating the gross floor area of the dwelling. Section 3 was striking following sentence. Prior to enactment of the subsection E, the maximum gross floor area of the dwelling was 12% of the lot area plus 1,500 square feet. Adding, it is the intent of this subsection E to reduce strike such the maximum gross floor area of dwellings in the R40, R20, R12.5, and R7.5 resident districts and the MF20 multifamily resident district by the total gross floor area of accessory buildings on the lot calculated as herein set forth. Section 4, applicability. This local law shall not apply to properties within the R75, 7.5 zone north of the Long Island Railroad in the Hillcrest neighborhood. This local law shall apply to applications made for a building permit after August 1st, 2018. Section 5, authority. The proposed local law is enacted pursuant to Village Law, Section 7.708, as well as Municipal Home Rule Law, Sections 10, parentheses 1I, 10(1)II-A, 11, 10(1)II-A12, and 10(2). Section 6, severability. If any section or subsection, paragraph, clause, phrase, or provision of this law shall be adjudged invalid or held unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, any judgment made thereby shall not affect the validity of this law as a whole or any part thereof other than the part or provision so adjudged to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 7, effective date. This local law shall take effect upon filing with the Secretary of State pursuant to Municipal Home Rule Law.
I think you got a double I somewhere.
I did? That was the section, what section?
Steve, thank you.
You sure you're done reading?
2 more to go?
He was good at bedtime stories, right?
Puts everybody to sleep, right?
So I make that motion to accept that local law.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Trustee Yaz?
Aye.
Trustee Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Irving?
Aye.
Trustee McCann?
No.
Trustee Hattrick?
Aye.
So moved.
Thank you. Wow. Continuing in the public hearings, and Steve, you won't have to read the next one. We have a public hearing on amending residency requirements for appointed officers. I think I made this clear before, and Wayne made it clear. This doesn't affect any of our boards. It doesn't affect the ZBA, ARB, planning. This is just for officers that are in the village or outside the village, so that we amend the residency requirements. So I make a motion to open the hearing on amending residency requirements for appointed officers.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any comments from anybody? Any comments from the trustees?
I'm good.
Fully understand.
We made the right provisions to it.
Forward march.
I'm counting the pages here.
Only one.
No, there's only one.
Only one.
The other one is the last,
The next one.
does he have to?
Okay, so I
Want to read it?
make a motion to accept local law number 4 of
We gotta close.
2018.
We gotta close first.
Oh, I got to close first. I'll close the public hearing on amending residency requirements of appointed officers.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Started thinking about reading this.
Want me to read it?
Now, I'll make a resolution to accept local law number 4 of 2018 as follows. A local law amending Chapter 3 by changing the title of the chapter to include reference to officers and employees and add a new Article 4 concerning residency requirements to allow the village board to appoint officers, except members of administration boards that may reside outside the village within the county of Suffolk. Be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton as follows. Section 1 Amendment, Chapter 3 is amended by changing the title to include reference to officers and employees by adding underlined words as follows. Chapter 3 Administration and Administrative Procedures, underlined officers and employees. Section 2 Amendment, Chapter 3 is amended by adding a new Article 4 as underlined words as follows. Underline 4 officers and employees. 313, eligibility for office residency requirements. No person shall be eligible to be appointed to or to hold any village office who is not a citizen of the United States, is not at least 18 years of age, except as may otherwise be provided by law, is not a village resident, and if eligible to or holding of such office is subject to regulation under the civil service law or any other law, does not meet the requirements of such law or laws. Notwithstanding any other provisions of law to the contrary, the Board of Trustees may provide, in lieu of any other residency requirements imposed by law, that an appointed officer may reside within the county of Suffolk. For the purpose of this section, the term officer shall not be construed to include elected officers or appointed members of village administrative boards. Section 3, authority. The proposed law is enacted pursuant to 3-300 of the New York Village Law and Municipal Home Rule Law, 10 subsection 1, II-A1, and 10-1 II-E3. Section 4, servability. If any section or subsection, paragraph, clause, phrase, or provision of this shall be adjudged invalid or held unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, any judgment made thereby shall not affect the validity of this law as a whole, or any part thereof other than the part of the provision so adjudged to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 5, effective date. The local law shall take effect upon filing with the Secretary of State pursuant to the Municipal Home Rule Law. I'll make the motion to accept.
Second? Roll call vote. Trustee Yaz? Aye. Trustee Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Irving?
Aye.
Trustee McCann?
Aye.
Trustee Hatcher? Aye. So moved.
The next public hearing. Yeah. The next public hearing, you guys have been so great sitting there, is really, to me, a really special thing, because for so long, we've been trying to get a first responder group to ocean rescue, and it's last year we had a couple of incidences. We lost an individual, and I just can't see, and on my watch, ever want to have that happen again. So we put together an ocean rescue group, and it's pretty exciting, and I would like to open the public hearing to establish an ocean rescue department.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any comments from the trustees?
Well, like you said, we've vetted. We've got some groups right in the audience today. You know, at your insistence, we got some groups together. Again, an interesting band of volunteers, local surfers, local residents, and of course, we had a lot of help and assistance from our East Hampton neighbors who had a great plan already in place, and we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. So once I want to thank you guys to be sitting there, and then the rest, of course, but from the first meeting till the last, you know, you guys have come a long way. It's amazing the amount of hours of training and so forth that, you know, a lot of you already are doing it, but there are some people I still can't believe that they signed on for this, because I didn't see that in them, but they're doing it, and that's impressive. That's probably one of the most impressive things of all. Outside of what your goal is, what you're supposed to do, saving lives and so forth, serving the community, I must admit, it's the difference in personalities and backgrounds of people that got together. So I want to thank you guys.
Well, it was great. You're so right. It was great to see people that you just don't see in the audience on most of these meetings step up and are willing to work as hard as they're going to have to be part of your system. But maybe you could come up and say a word or two?
If your legs aren't asleep, you know, if you can you walk over here? And one of our police officers, as a matter of fact, that's even how far stretching this is.
Yeah.
Police Officer of the Village, ex-chief of the East Hampton Volunteer Ocean Rescue Program. We're just very excited that you guys decided to step up and are really behind and support this program.
Just state your name for the record.
Oh, Ed Reed. We're just happy you guys are behind us 100%, and hopefully tonight it goes through, and then we can start tomorrow and getting this organization up and running.
And, you know, it's really, you shouldn't be thanking us, we should be thanking you, because you guys were really, you stepped up to bat when we really needed you. And it's great to see what you're doing, and, you know, for the public, Ed is on our police force and real important asset to Ocean Rescue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Read all this too?
No, I think Steve's going to read this one. Is any other comments? Yeah, please.
Yes. Introduce you.
Hi, Board. Jim Arnold, East Hampton resident and Chief of Ocean Rescue in East Hampton, and associate of Ed Reed's. And I'm here as a liaison to work with your group to help form it and get you guys off the ground. And I want to say thank you. Obviously, it's something that looks like it's needed, and we're here to serve. So we have a great group in East Hampton, and so far you have something like 30 volunteers that are really ready to step up and help.
Great.
Yeah, so thank you for backing the group, and a lot of gratitude to the next and upcoming progress of this season. So thank you.
Thank you. We're so excited.
How you doing? My name is Mike Purcell. I'm a lifeguard at Cooper's. I've been there for 29 years. And obviously the beaches are covered during the summer, but this will be a great addition, like a buffer in between fall when there's still plenty of swimmers. Now when there's plenty of swimmers, we come on and these guys can assist in the evening, or hopefully not during the day, but if it comes to that, they'll be there. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. Any other comments? Any trustee comments?
I'm excited.
So,
They won't have to rescue me.
Does he have a little ducky flotation device?
But I do have 20 grandchildren, so...
So I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on establishing an ocean rescue department.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'd like to make a motion to accept local law number 5, 2018, establishing it.
Okay, want me to read it?
I'd love it if you did.
Okay, local law number 5 of 2018, a local law amending the code of the Village of Southampton by adding a new chapter 79 to establish an ocean rescue department, being enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton as follows. Section 1 amendment. The code of the Village of Southampton is amended by adding a new chapter 79 by adding the underlined words as follows. Everything I'm going to read here is going to be underlined. So, Chapter 79, Ocean Rescue Department, Section 4.1, Department created. There's hereby created in the Village of Southampton the Ocean Rescue Department of the Village of Southampton. Section 4.2, Function. The function of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be to provide a volunteer ocean rescue service in the village and assistance to the village police, fire department, lifeguards, and other emergency services providers of the village. Section 4.3, Membership. A. The initial volunteer members of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be the appointment of the mayor with the approval of the Village Board of Trustees. The volunteer members of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be residents of the village or persons residing within 20 miles of the village. The volunteer members shall be deemed qualified by reason of training, experience, or civic interest and maintain applicable open water and CPR certifications as approved by the Council of the Ocean Rescue Department and the Village Board of Trustees. B, thereafter, the Ocean Rescue Department may elect other eligible persons as volunteer members, subject to the approval of the Village Board of Trustees. Such election shall be by a 2/3 vote of the members of the Ocean Rescue Department present at a regular or special meeting thereof. The membership of any person so elected shall become effective upon approval thereof by the Village Board of Trustees. Section 4.4, Officers. A, the officers of the Ocean Rescue Department shall consist of a chief, first assistant chief, second assistant chief, secretary, treasurer, and such other officers, if any, as may be provided for in the bylaws of the Ocean Rescue Department. There shall be either 5 officers or 7 officers. B, the officers of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be elected annually by the members of the Ocean Rescue Department for a calendar year term of office, subject to the appointment of the mayor with the approval of the Village Board of Trustees. An annual meeting of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be held on a date in December of each year, parentheses, such date to be fixed in the bylaws of the Ocean Rescue Department or by resolution of the Village Board of Trustees, close paren, for the purpose of electing officers for the calendar year term of office commencing on January 1st of the following year. The election of officers of persons so elected shall become effective upon approval thereof by the Village Board of Trustees. Section 4.5, Council of Ocean Rescue Department. A, the officers of the Ocean Rescue Department shall constitute the Council of the Ocean Rescue Department. B, subject to the direction and control of the Village Board of Trustees, the Council shall be responsible for the proper management of the function of the Ocean Rescue Department. C, bylaws. Subject to the approval of the Village Board of Trustees, the Council may from time to time adopt bylaws with respect to the following Ocean Rescue Department matters. A, the powers and duties of the officers. B, the operating procedures and duties of the members. C, the admission, suspension, removal, and discipline of the members and officers. D, the minimum training and certification requirements to be eligible for active membership and the certifications necessary to allow participation in rescues. E, such other matters as may from time to time be authorized or approved by resolution of the Village Board of Trustees. 2, such bylaws shall become effective upon approval thereof by the Village Board of Trustees. Section 4.6, Direction and Control of Board of Trustees. The proper management of the function of the Ocean Rescue Department shall be subject to the direction and control of the Village Board of Trustees. B, the Village Board of Trustees may from time to time, by resolution, adopt rules and regulations governing Ocean Rescue Department matters, including but not limited to matters referred to in subsection C of Section 4.5. Section C, in the event of any conflict between a bylaw established pursuant to Section C of Section 4.5 and a rule or regulation adopted pursuant to subsection B of 4.6, 4-6, the matter shall be controlled and governed by the rule or regulation adopted pursuant to subsection B of Section 4.6. Section 3, Authority. The proposed law is enacted pursuant to Section 4.412, parentheses 1, Village Law and Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10.1I, 10.1II-A12, and 10.1II-E3. Section 4, Severability. If any section or subsection, paragraph, clause, phrase, or provision of this law shall be adjudged invalid or held unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, any judgment made thereby shall not affect the validity of this law as a whole, or any part thereof other than the part or provision so adjudged to be invalid or unconstitutional. Section 5, Effective Date. This local law shall take effect upon filing with the Secretary of State pursuant to Municipal Home Rule Law.
Now, is it applicable or applicable?
Which way you want it?
I like the way you said it.
Yeah. Can I have a second? Roll call vote. Trustee Yastrzemski?
Aye.
Trustee Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Irving?
Aye,
Trustee McCann?
Aye.
Trustee Hedrick?
Aye.
So moved.
thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you step up.
And thank you for waiting this long for...
Picked a bad night.
Sorry.
Considering it was really fast, when you think about from the time that we started talking to now, it was rather quick.
For your decision, yes.
I don't relish it.
The previous 3 hours, you had to wait for that, so thank you.
That's okay.
I think I'd like to take a swim after this.
I think we already
Yeah,
did.
are you guys on call? Are you ready to go?
Well, I understand the town approved the Red Creek piece for
The aquatic,
pool.
yeah.
That
Right.
was approved the other night, so there's good possibilities for your town.
Yeah,
Good things
Yeah.
along the horizon.
it's great to hear.
Again, thanks for all your input, and
Happy to help.
Ed, this is all your writing anyways, isn't it? You
Yeah.
just read,
Yes.
you wrote all this crap how many years ago?
What's the toughest part
You
of
could
your
have.
ocean rescue test?
Cold water.
Cold water, yeah.
Well, you interested?
Well,
Are you kidding?
it's a long 3 hours of testing in cold water. Yeah, the first week in June.
Kind of like these 3 hours you just went through?
This is nothing.
Oh, okay.
This is nothing. This is easier. But it's really great.
Right.
No,
Thank you, guys.
we appreciate everything that you guys have presented to us, and, you know, we tried to move as quickly as we can, and,
Phenomenal.
you know.
And to address your grandchildren, the education about water safety is one of the biggest arms or the biggest part.
Yes.
Toward helping your community.
Yep.
Thank you.
Right.
Good. Thank you.
Are we done?
Now we got communications to the board.
Okay, so we have first communications from Southampton Public School, emailing to let you know that the kindergarten class from the Southampton Elementary School would like to hold their field day activities at Agawam Park on Thursday, June 14th from 9 to 11 a.m. with the rain date of Friday, June 15th. Thank you, Rhonda Kaczynski, SES kindergarten team.
Isn't the U.S. Open holding an event there June 15th?
Well, we're talking about a screen there, but
Yeah, the event that they were...
it's only going to be on the
Right.
north side.
Oh, so it's a different side?
Right.
Okay.
So let me ask you, are they going to replace the rubberized, the ground cover there before this? Because I wouldn't want that all torn up and then find out they can't have it.
I don't know. I'd
We
have
need
to
to
ask
find
Gary on
that
that,
out.
yeah.
I know he wanted to get it done before Memorial Day.
Yeah, I know we've signed the PO.
But that's only around the corner.
I know, it's 2
so-
weeks away, so I'm not...
Yeah, but I mean, if we can get it done before this, there's no problem with that. But let's find out about that before we decide on anything. Could we do that?
Sure, we have another meeting.
Okay.
But the existing ground cover is down now.
Yeah, but we were adding
Got it
to it,
being
I
pulled
think.
up.
Yeah.
On the
But we
field day
don't want to-
activity, I don't think they're going to be using that playground
Oh,
because
they're
that's
not? I thought
more...
with the kids, they might be.
Yeah, I mean, I can double check so I can
Yeah.
hold this to this 22nd meeting.
Okay.
That's a good point. Okay, second one is from the CVO. The Commission on Veterans Patriotic Events would like to request permission to hold a short parade on Monday, May 28th as part of our Memorial Day service. The parade will begin approximately 10:45 a.m. All are invited to attend. We'd also like to request permission to hold our annual 4th of July parade on Wednesday, July 4th at 10 a.m. Thank you for your consideration on these matters and hope to see you on May 28th. Susan Stanky, Secretary.
That's great.
We have to get new stationery. They have the wrong people in here.
Do they?
Okay. You know. So what do we do
We
on this?
need to make a motion to
Motion to
accept
adopt?
it. Yeah.
Make that motion?
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Last one is from Southampton Public Schools. The Southampton High School class of 2018 and their advisors are requesting permission to use Cooper's Beach on Friday, June 8th, 2018, from 7:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m. The students will be bused from Southampton High School and will not be allowed to arrive or depart on their own. Southampton High School will provide both chaperones and security guards who will be with the students at all times. Students will enjoy a breakfast on the beach, generously donated by Mr. Michael Mussolino and his wife, and will partake in games such as Frisbee and Cornhole. Students will be instructed to stay out of the water. As this is the last day of classes at SAH, we expect that the majority of the class will attend this event. It is expected that we have 5 buses departing from SHS at 7:30 a.m. with approximately 150 students. In the case of inclement weather, students will remain at SHS for the entirety of the morning. We hope that you will consider granting us permission to use Cooper's on June 8th as fun and a different way of wishing the current seniors farewell. Respectfully submitted, Jacqueline Fritz.
I think we've done that pretty much every year, haven't we?
Yeah, we do.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolutions, item 1, resolve that the reading of the minutes for the work session of April 24th, 2018 be dispensed with and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Can I have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the claims for the warrants dated May 10th, 2018, totaling $232,734.29, warrant 18, general fund, $6,796.10, warrant 12, trust fund, and $18,339.50, warrant 12, capital reserve fund, and the village payrolls for the period ended May 10th, 2018, be ordered and approved. Can I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second?
Discussion. Page 1, Arius Design fees for Lowell Apprentice Park, $5,000. Atlantic Salt, 125 tons of salt, $9,803.99. Page 2, Cast Productions, videography services for April, $2,850. Chaliff and Rogers, $12,000. Development of the RFP for the Nugent Carriage House restoration. Corwith's Auto Body, April towing fees, $1,400. CSEA Employee Benefit Fund, May insurance premium, $29,189.16. Page 3, Drone Nerds, drone for the police department, $7,721.04, which I believe was paid for by a donation, right, Tom?
Right.
Farrell Fritz, certiorari settlement, $21,884.32. Next page, Firematic Supply, Fire Department Equipment Service and Repairs, $1,104.50. First Presbyterian Church, parking lot lease for May, $3,000. Fluid Imagery, computer services for the village, $6,769.52. Fowler Garden Center, park supplies, $2,284.77. Galls flowing on to page 5, police uniforms, $4,685.56. Granger, various parks supplies, but also replacing 3 Agawam tables, picnic tables, $4,143.10. Herrick Hardware Supplies, $2,030.55. Page 6, Johnson Electric Construction Corp. Traffic signal maintenance for April, $1,400. JP Molding, Plumbing and Heating, Village Hall boiler repair, $1,197.52. Kyocera Document Solution, leases on the copy machines at PD, $1,044.04. Page 7, Morgan Auto Supply, Garage Supplies, $2,624.94. Nelson Pope Quarries, flowing up to page 8, consulting fees for the Planning Board and the ZBA, $15,108.85. Norsec and Son carding fees, $6,257. Office of the State Controller, March fines for the court, $11,658. Page 9, O'Shea, Marcincut, and Boone. Legal fees, Rutenberg versus the ZBA, $8,964.26. Page 10, Power Equipment Plus, small equipment repair for Parks and Highway, $1,045.25. PSE&G, April Electric Services, $8,772.30. Page 11, Sprague Operating Reserve, 3,000 gallons of gasoline, $6,301.80. Student North Consulting for the ARB, $1,200. Studio AB Architects, consulting for the Planning Commission on the GFA, $5,700. Suffolk Cement Products, Highway Supplies, $1,378. Page 12, Vince Toomey, legal fees for March, $1,019.40. Town of Southampton, carting fees, $6,953.70. Vector Airport Systems, annual maintenance and support for the billing system at the heliport, $5,298. And Vehicle Tracking Solutions, GPS, April charges, $1,151.52. Next warrant is the Expense Trust warrant, VHB Engineering, design fees of the Jobs Lane Drainage Program, $6,790. And the last one is the Capital Reserve warrant, Mayday Communications, partial payments to the new radios for PD, $18,339.50. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate line item overages for the period ending May 10th, 2018. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Item 1, $135,100 out of trustees' special projects, with $3,000 going into trustees' contractual, $5,900 into unemployment, $1,110 into employee benefits medical, $9,000 to clerk contractual, and $7,200 in claims. Item 2, $10,000 coming out of buildings contractual, going to buildings utility. Item 3, $25,000 out of police personal, with $15,000 going into police overtime, $10,000 into police travel. Item 4, $4,000 out of fire miscellaneous, going into fire utilities. Item 5, $10,000 out of ambulance miscellaneous, going to ambulance equipment. Item 6, $29,000 for street maintenance personal, with $25,000 going into street maintenance contractual, $4,000 into street maintenance equipment, and the last one is $22,000 out of park supplies going to parks equipment. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of Michael Quick as a seasonal laborer for the Building Maintenance Department for the summer of 2018 at an hourly salary of $15. Have a motion?
Make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And item 5, and this one's dedicated to Rich with all the whereases. Whereas the Village of Southampton desires to restore the historic Pierce Concert House located at 51 Pond Lane in the Incorporated Village of Southampton, and whereas the Village Board obtained a preliminary cost estimate for said project and appropriated $500,000 toward the cost of the restoration, and whereas the Village Board retained the services Chaliff and Rogers Architects AIA PC, who prepared detailed plans and bid specifications, and whereas a notice to bidders was published and bids were opened on December 11, 2017, with all bids substantially higher than funds allocated for the project by the village. And whereas the Board of Trustees rejected all bids and required the scope of the project to be reduced and the plans and specifications for the project to be revised, and whereas based upon revised plans and specifications, a new notice to bidders was published, and on April 5, 2018, 4 bids were opened. And whereas Chaliff and Rogers Architects, on behalf of the village, reviewed all 4 bids, requested additional information from the 2 lowest bidders as to certain qualifications, and therefore evaluated all 4 bids pursuant to the contract award system set forth in the bid documents. And whereas Chaliff and Rogers Architects have determined that bidder William G. Profi LLC has demonstrated qualifications necessary to perform and complete the project with all services, including plumbing, HVAC, and electrical work, to be performed by his own employees with no outside subcontractors, thereby negating the need for a separate sealed envelope with subcontractors' names and amounts to be paid thereto as required under the Wicks law. And whereas the bid of William G. Profi LLC in the amount of $437,600 is the lowest responsible bid, with all other bids substantially greater than the funds allocated for the project by the village. Now therefore be resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton hereby accepts the bid of William G. Profi LLC for the Pierce Concert House Historic Restoration as being the lowest responsible bid, and authorizes the mayor to execute all documents necessary to engage a contractor to complete the project. Have a motion?
I'll move. Okay, sorry.
Second?
Second.
Further discussion, there's just a letter in here from Chaliff and Rogers listing the 4 bids, which ranged up to $999,979 as the highest.
Good. It's great to get going on that project.
All in favor? Item 6, resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following payment from the capital reserve account, subject to permissive referendum. Mayday Communications, $18,339.50, the major equipment reserve. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the last item is the surf school bid. We do this every year, do a bid package out for running a surf school. The one and only bid that came in was Flying Point Surf Shop for $2,500. Okay, and location obviously to be determined by the board.
Okay. Have we had them before?
Yes. I have a motion to accept the bid from Flying Point Surf Shop in the amount of $2,500.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we got next comments from board members. Trustee Uspensky.
I think we've all said quite a bit, but I do want to thank the public, one of which is still standing and sitting in the back, I know, waiting to speak. But I do thank you, and I thank you in advance about you probably what to say, about what you say. But this has, these things are always long processes and take time, and they're not taken lightly by anybody up on this board. I think just the discussion amongst ourselves we had tonight, witnessed, is evidence of that. So, but more importantly, I think the public's input. I know that some don't think it was right, and I do know that some do think it was right, and that's one thing I always said from being on this board now for quite a little time here. Whatever I got half the room likes it, half doesn't. So I know that going into it, that's why we make the big bucks. So, but I do thank everybody for attending these meetings and giving their input, so that's all I got.
Trustee Allen.
First of all, I want to thank the mayor and this board for attending our inaugural May Day senior celebration last week. That went off very well. We had a lot of good speakers, and a special shout out to Judy Johnson, Nicole Hart, Tom Edmonds, Judy Collins, Jeanette, whose last name I don't know, and all the guest speakers who showed up that day.
That was great. We had all four trustees there.
Yes.
It was something special.
Good lineups of all kinds of experts telling us what was available to our senior as resources, and the golf fellows.
Yeah, the USGA guys.
Which brings me to the next topic, which is, if everybody doesn't already know this, the U.S. Open is June 11th through the 17th, and the rain date is the 18th. And I don't want to steal your thunder, but tomorrow is the U.S. Open Job Fair.
Right.
At Town Hall from 11 to 2. And then there's a number of breaking news on the vehicle and traffic restrictions, but I won't discuss that because I think you're discussing that.
Well, no, you can discuss it.
Okay. So the reason why I have my phone here, not that I'm not paying attention, but we just did get an email before the meeting started, and that is there will be so let me back up. The town board had a work session last week where all the plans were outlined with the police and traffic engineers to adopt a resolution to lay out the traffic restrictions on parking in other areas. So starting tomorrow, if you go to the town website or the U.S. Golf Association website or watch CTV, you can get all the updates on the restrictions. But the highlights will be, during that time, there's not going to be any parking between Shrubland to Tuckahoe, including no stopping. There'll be certain limits on turns. There will be a drop-off location at Stony Brook, and there'll be a pedestrian bridge to get over County Road 39. But the reason why I'm mentioning it tonight is County Road 39, that pedestrian bridge, is going to be put up this coming Wednesday between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. So for those of you who are traveling during those times, just beware that already this coming week, there will be some activity over County Road 39.
I think they're closing the road.
It's being closed.
It's
being closed.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, it's being closed.
Yep.
Okay. And last of all, the next planning commission, which I hope you can attend, Michael, is the 17th at 5 p.m. in this room, and also the neighborhood meeting that we will be having to share our findings of the study of the properties up on Hillcrest will be held this coming Monday at King's Chapel Church. So if anybody would like to attend, I believe that the start time, I believe, is 6 p.m. Yes.
Planning Commission is the 17th, because usually it's the first Thursday.
They moved it.
They moved it because a number of people had unavoidable
At what time,
conflict.
5 p.m.? I don't know if I can go now.
It's typically 5 p.m. I have it for 5 p.m.
I'll have to watch it on TV.
Thank you, Trustee Allen. Trustee McGann.
I think I said a lot. I don't think I have anything to add.
We need a motion?
Good
to get it all out.
Yeah, it is. Aaron. Trustee Hattrick.
Michael, it's great to see you again.
I'm watering gum trees for your house.
That's it.
Okay. Well, thank you all, and we got a couple of things coming up, but first, before I present that, I just want to thank this board for looking at all the legislation that we've had, because it's been a long time in the making, and I know all of you didn't take any of the voting lightly, and you've been really all doing your homework, and that's terrific to see, and I thank you for that. We got the job fair. It's going to be, as Trustee Allen indicated on Friday, May 11th, and it's going to be between 11 and 2 over at the town hall. I'm not sure, do they give us a room or anything? No.
In the lower level.
In the lower level?
People just need to remember to bring their
ID.
ID.
Right.
Oh, right, the
Yeah.
security.
Good point.
You must have your
Yeah.
government-issued ID, driver's license, or whatever.
Yeah, so I'll remind anybody who goes there, they have new security restrictions in town hall, and you'll need your driver's license. And I got to tell you, I've showed up at 2 places, and I very rarely carry any ID, and I got kicked out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did.
You didn't pull a, don't you know who I am thing?
No, I didn't do that.
No?
No.
Wouldn't be your style.
I tried to give them my business card, but they didn't want it.
Oh, ouch.
So there's a couple other things, and, the job fair is really great for anybody who's looking for some quick work, and, the real big thing is that, sometimes when you take on a part-time job like that, you find that it turns into a full-time job. So it's worth attending the fair if you're looking for some employment. And then also, of course, the Memorial Day Parade, which we discussed earlier, is going to take place on May 28th. And the veterans groups will parade from the First Presbyterian Church beginning at 10:45 and make their way to Agawam Park, where there will be a ceremony followed by refreshments at the Veterans Memorial Hall. Really something to attend, because we all should from time to time take a moment and thank all those that have served and all those that really have given the ultimate sacrifice, and your attendance will be certainly appreciated. With that, we got the second comment, public comment, and I'm sure Mr. Mike there would like to.
Really, the real reason I was here wasn't to, ironically, that was on about the square footage, but I've been involved with a lot of residents of Watermill lately with this thing on Rose Hill Road. And this piece of property is a $10 million piece of property. I worked on the house next to it. That's a $40 million house. This person was very politically connected in the Democratic Party, federally, and he got an easement through the property. Now he's got another easement, and I'll tell you, every day on my truck, on my windshield, I got secret documents this thick, telling the whole story, everything the trustees are doing, everything that they're doing wrong, money that's missing, and for some
You're
reason...
talking the town trustees.
Yeah, not you guys. You guys.
Well, I wanted to clarify that.
I wanted to clarify that. You guys did not give away a $10 million piece.
First off, we have no money.
We have no land to give. So this new piece, what happened was the town owned this piece of property for years. The Halseys gave it to them as a park in 1923. They deeded it to them. And back then, there was no zoning. There was no giving away a park space in 1923 because you made a subdivision. I mean, it was a free-for-all. You could do whatever you want. Nobody wanted to live here. Nobody wanted to live in Mecox Bay until now. I mean, so what happened was they gave this property, Squires and Holden had a survey of this property that was made before they gave the property over, of the homeowner, his new driveway, and his landscape plan. And Squires and Holden is very thorough. They go to county center, everything's perfect. I mean, you get something from them, it's thorough, it's perfect, there's nothing wrong with it, and they spent time on this. So this was premeditated, not told in public. And if you should take a ride there, because they put a gate on the trustees took this property on December 15th. By January, they had a deal, allegedly, which we found out was done October with the homeowner. No public meetings, no nothing. Half the councilmen don't even know what's going on. The trustees There's only one that'll admit he made a mistake because he didn't have all the records. And what they did is they have a gate, they cut the property in half, so you have a little sliver where people can launch their boats. They put a gate, landscaping, sod, a cobblestone apron, and they made this because this guy had very bad access to his house. And they basically gave a 15-year lease, and all he has to do is cut the grass and dredge. And when you hear the word dredge, you think of a 200-foot boat coming there, and, you know, like it's literally, these are boats that are John boats that take 6 inches or duck lines. They don't need to be dredged. And most of the people that go on that body of water, ironically, it's ice boating. They don't need any water. So the point is that this is going to get really ugly, because if you know Watermill, those people are very in touch with their past, their farming past, and they blew it right by them. They didn't tell any of them. None of them knew. And the whole point of this is, I think that you need to get somebody on the CPF funds from this town, I'll do it for free, and watch them what's going on. Because they're giving away land, they're giving away money. They gave away a huge piece on Mohawk Lane that's worth millions. This piece is worth 10 million, 2 15-year leases, and a right of first refusal they gave them. So you basically just gave it to them to cut the grass. That's what they did. You know, there's no way out of it, allegedly. That's what the lawyers are saying. And they did this all underhanded, and they're doing it with CPF money. I have proof. They're buying pieces that are landlocked. They're buying pieces that are in a pit, that are unbuildable. They're friends' pieces. There's trustee money. They're building projects where homeowners are supposed to pay for half. They're
Greg,
not giving them.
is he going too fast for you?
Oh, he knows too. He's got a million documents too.
Okay, this sounds like something you ought to be interested in.
Oh, he's got he knows what's going on. There's projects that have gone wrong. They're crying the blues. They have no money. They've blown hundreds of thousands of dollars doing projects, not getting reimbursed from homeowners, doing joint ventures. And that's why when I saw the project tonight on Gin Lane, I'm like scratching my head, like, since when are we letting private people work on it? It sets a bad precedent, and that's what happened here. They kept giving a little easement, then a little piece. This was in 2006. Now the guy basically owns the property and controls it. $10 million. And I think this village collects so much money in CPF funds, it should be used for road drainage. It should be to fight these people on Dune Road that are trying to take access away on Gin Lane. And there should be somebody at all those meetings, and somebody should have to sign off from this village on every single transaction, because the lion's share of the money is coming from here. And it's corrupt over there, and they're starting to find out. And I swear to you, I get secret papers on my truck, and they're like, look at this. They're like, go to the district attorney. Because I stood up at the meeting and I said something. So now they think I'm like, you know, the whistleblower. And it's really disturbing. And I think that we're getting really, really, excuse the expression, screwed here every single day. And this has been going on, and we have to get somebody there. And we have to get the trustees out of here, because you can't trust them anymore.
Mike, I'll just tell you that Kimberly Allen here is on the CPF board. I had her got on the board. She's done an unbelievable job of identifying properties in the village of Southampton.
We all have.
Yeah, and
Everybody helps.
we've numbered them based on priorities. We have sent them to the town and the CPF so they know where we're at. Kimberly's watching every dime that comes out of this village now, and we have gotten more donations since. We also, I will tell you, have gone with Beconic Land Trust and identified properties out Dune Road and Gin Lane on the bay side that really need to be part of open space and kept open. So in the past year, we've really made a conservative effort to not just have the money go to the town. We made a conservative effort to see what we're getting back.
Well, what I think should happen is they should go back to Fred Thiel and revote this, and the village controls their own money from the CPF, because it's not right what they're doing. I mean, it's actually disturbing. They're actually preserving land that's polluting the groundwater. They're buying land that was, like you said, about Temic. I lived in Watermill. I know about Temic. I had a well that had a Temic well, and one of the farms they preserved was where the Temic was coming from. So it doesn't make any sense why we're buying some of this land when it's already polluted. You know, it looks like a nice field, but it's really filled. And I know from building there, when you open up the ground there, I mean, it could literally kill you, the smell that comes out of the ground from all the clay and all the chemicals that have been sitting there for 80 years. And it's really bad. And, you know, people aren't talking about this, but now they are. And I really think that they have to take the money out of the control of the town, because the town government is becoming very, very backslapping, corrupt over there. And they're doing people favors, and they're doing things. And I think, you know, I don't always see eye to eye with zoning, but I think you guys are very honest, and that's what you could say about the trustees. There's nobody comes here to get a big paycheck or anything. They do it because they believe in something. And I think that's why you guys should be controlling that, and somebody should go to Fred Thiel and revote this, because I know of one case personally 10 years ago where I lived in Watermill. They bought a landlocked piece of land that was in a pit. They paid $1.2 million for it. And I still, to this day, cannot figure out why they did that. I have an idea. Probably a friend of a friend, but I really think that if you guys had your own money, you would never throw it away. You'd be doing drainage projects, buying land and whatever had to be done, fixing Lake Agawam and draining it or whatever had to be done. And that's just my opinion. I think you guys should know what's going on.
Yeah. No, we're aware of it, and we've also requested funds for drainage, because we have a drainage project for Job's Lane, and it's a 5-phase project that we had, and this is the 5th phase, and we were denied our grant on the 5th phase. They gave us a grant for every other phase. So I went back to Bridget Fleming, and Bridget has been very cooperative, and she's looking for some additional funding for us from the county so that we can complete that. And Kimberly has identified a number of areas that in the village of Southampton that need more drainage work, with the concept of getting the CPF funds for drainage.
Yeah, I agree, but, you know, I don't think you would have to go to any more county officials if you had this money. I think it would be over with, and you would have the money, and you'd be able to do the right thing. And I mean, Lake Agawam, they could speculate all they want why it's polluted. I mean, go there when it rains. I mean, there's a 6-inch deep puddle that's 10 foot wide, like like the Roaring Rapids over there, going right in there with oil, road runoff, nitrates, and whatever. And, you know, it just seems like they just kind of, in town hall over there, which I deal with for building, they just like silencing people, and they like to keep everything quiet and trying to pacify people there that get upset. And they even called the police. I was at that meeting. You know, one guy, they didn't like what he was saying, so they called the police, and that's not right. And it wasn't getting into a fight. I was there. It wasn't a battle. So right away, they pushed the panic button to get the police to silence people. And then there's a policeman in the audience the whole time, which isn't right. And then people don't want to talk, and it's not an open meeting anymore. And, you know, I think that, you know.
So you're saying we're doing it right?
Huh?
You're saying we're doing it right? Is that what I can infer from all this?
Is that a backhand?
Right?
I just agree with you, but I never think your opinions are because you're being corrupt. I think they're your opinions, and I think you guys are straight. I never look at this board and say, oh, you know, they're corrupt. I know you guys are doing it because that's what you believe, and that's fine.
That's good. I can take that. Thank you.
But Michael, you raise a lot of really good questions. I don't think people really understand how the process works, and I don't think we really understand it either. So we just got to the table. The good news is we as a board have a strategy that we've put forward of properties that we believe are important to the village, after having not only identified every property that's still open space or strategically valuable, but looked at every single one. And Nancy spent hours with me on it, which was terrific. And we had the Planning Commission look at it. But now we have someone at the meetings. I've only been to 2. I have to say, what the Community Preservation Board just spent money to invest in are the properties going next to where the creeks are that bring in the alewife fish. I had no idea. They come all the way from the ocean, they go all the way over to North Sea, and they spawn in Big Fresh Pond. I mean, talk about a traveling fish. So they're
Why
really...
would they buy that, though?
Because
It's unbuildable. You can never touch it by law.
Well, yeah, but they're preserving it.
I know, but it's preserved anyway by rights. You know, like,
Well,
that's
it
my
isn't
question.
actually,
When you
yeah.
preserve property, that's great, but if you're preserving something that's already preserved by law, that can't be built on, that can't be touched by the DEC, I don't know, that seems like a waste of money to me.
Good point.
You know, and you're never going to touch that piece of I know where that is. I mean, if you even walked over there, the DEC saw you, they'd probably arrest you. I mean, that's, you know, these are, and I'm not saying it's not good to preserve that, but I think there's a lot of big projects they could be investing in with drainage and runoff. And I think that's our main problem out here is runoff. I don't think it's a septic system. I think it's always been this bad, especially on Hill Street. I mean, it's really terrible.
It is, it's bad.
But just to add to that, we are partnering very closely with John Halsey and the Peconic Land Trust, and now Steve McDonald at the Nature Conservancy. So all the people are kind of coming together and saying, what's really, really important? What's going to affect our aquifer? What do we attack? And we're at the table now. Now, we do have to understand process better. We are engaged in meetings. We're proactive and sitting with our town, council members. So, and you can go to their website. They really have a lot of information. It's pretty fascinating. If you go to their website, they'll list all the properties that are under review. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but I know it is, but it shouldn't be.
Well, are those open meetings?
Well, the town board approves the properties. The Community Preservation Fund looks at the properties and gives an evaluation to them.
Right.
So they don't make any decision other than saying, yes, we think this is likely a good candidate.
Right.
But ultimately, it's the town board who approves it.
I just think the village should have their own money because you're starting to get...
Using up your 3 minutes.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. The last thing,
Just a reminder.
I just think there's a
You're
lot of...
speaking more than us up here. Come on,
I know.
let's go. We need some latitude.
But I haven't been here in 6 months. But I just think that there's a lot of Brookhaven politicians and Brookhaven stuff moving out here for whatever reason as political favors and stuff, and I think you should really, yeah, that's true. And they should really just be a better watchdog, and I think you guys are here for the right reason, and you would be a better watchdog than them.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for the compliment.
Thank you.
Despite the Yankees hat.
Yes. We should get a dog parker for Village Hall here, for our watchdogs.
Any,
2x3, right?
any further comments from the public? With that, I make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters involving village employees.
Second, sounds good.
Second.
Favor.
Hi.
All right.
Hi.